Alrighty guys, welcome back to Miller RC, and while I wait for parts to get this 1/5 scale Waco in the air, I figured out to introduce you to an airframe that I probably kept hidden from y'all for a good 3 months. And in case y'all don't know what this is the Hangar 9 Pulse XT60. So this is going to be the overview / restoration story on this airframe. If you are just want to see the flight, you can skip to this timeline here, and that will take you straight to the flight. So, yes, this is a Hangar 9 Pulse XT60 airframe. I've always liked these airframes, the looks of them, since Horizon has done the many sized airframes that they used to sell, and I don't think they sell any Pulse airframes anymore, but I've always liked the looks of them. And if y'all know me, I'm a sucker for low-wing sports with cool 4-stroke engines up front. As probably most of you know, we did the build and flying on this SIG 4-Star 40 about 2 years ago. And in case y'all have not seen this airframe and you want to check more, or you want to learn more about it, you can go down to the description below in this video, and I'll leave a playlist for you to for more info on that airframe there. But yes, I've always liked the Hangar 9 Pulse XT60 airframe, and thanks to a local club member, I was able to find one. But unfortunately, it was not a simple go fuel and fly. This thing was in really sad shape when I got it, and I had to do a lot of work to it to get it in this state that you see in front of you. So let's go ahead and start that story off with this engine, because that was the first thing I tackled. When I first got this airframe / engine, which this is a Magnum XL91, the knockoffs of the OS Surpass series engines, this one had a stuck exhaust valve. It was not making any compression, and it needed a lot of help to get operational again. So took off the cylinder head, and then I found this in the combustion chamber. Really nasty dirt, crud stuff. I don't understand how that much or how that amount could accumulate inside a combustion chamber, but somehow this engine did. So after seeing that much crud inside the combustion chamber, I took the engine apart completely just to make sure there wasn't anything else wrong with it. But luckily, the stuck exhaust valve and all that crud in the combustion chamber were the only issues with it. I was able to clean it up, put it back together again, and it's a great running engine. It makes great compression now, and it idles beautifully. It runs great off my homebrew fuel. It doesn't make the most power in the world, but it does run really good, and it powers this airplane well. So really thrilled that this Magnum 91 XL worked out for this airframe. And then pretty much the next restoration part was getting this airframe stripped from its original covering. The original scheme used red, yellow, and black ultra coat, and it was pretty much just falling off the airframe, the fuselage especially. I maybe could have tried to iron it back on, but it was literally falling off, and I never really cared for the stock scheme anyway. So I said, yeah, we're just going to have to recover it. And stripped all the covering off. And then after that was done, I paid attention to this cowling here, because this was a lot of work. So previous owner butchered up the whole front of this thing. I don't know why it was like that or how he did it. I'm not exactly sure what all that entailed. But yeah, I had to put a wood plug up front, and then pretty much just use that wood plug to wrap or fiberglass the whole entire front, and then shape it all into back what I think the original shape of the cowling was, which I was going off photos, and I think it came out really good looking. It looks really close to the original, in my opinion, and it came out really good. So I'm really thrilled at how well this cowling turned out as far as a repair standpoint. And you're probably asking at this point, why didn't you just get a new cowling? Because this airframe dates back to around 2008, I believe. So the cowling, or any parts or airframes in general, are non-existent. So I had to work with what I had. So the cowling was, luckily, I had enough of the cowling to where I could fix it up. So yeah, that was a big time consumer there, but I'm really glad and happy how it turned out. And then after the cowling there, I paid attention to the wings and the tail, because those were definitely interesting. Besides the butchered up cowl, the previous owner also epoxied the wing halves together and the tail together. In case some of you do not know, this originally is a 2-piece wing that you can pull apart for transport purposes. And being a 70-inch wingspan and me having small space to transport these airframes, I really wanted a 2-piece wing again. So in order to accomplish that, I ran a razor saw down the two halves, cut through the alignment dowel and the aluminum spar. That also was epoxied in place, and just cut that all in half. And once I was able to saw both halves in half, I guess, I said, well, this is what we're going to do. We are going to get a carbon spar that fits in the stock aluminum one, because there was no way I was going to be able to get that aluminum tube out without destroying the whole entire wings and making more work than I had to. So I just got a carbon spar that fits inside the stock aluminum one, and it works great. I haven't had any problems with folding wings on this airframe after flying it for a good 5 times, and it's been working good. And then, yes, the tail was epoxied. This rudder part right here has studs that extend all the way down to the bottom of the fuselage, where you just use nuts to bolt the entire tail assembly in place. And I wanted to go back to that. So just some heat in there softened up the epoxy enough to where I could pull both the rudder and the elevator off. And yeah, I was able to go back to the original bolt-on and 2-piece wings. So really happy how that turned out. And then after doing that, it was pretty much recovering it and recovering it, but actually switching the electronics out, because like I said, this airframe dates back to 2008. And when I first got it, it had really old, like 1980s style standard size servos in it. So I switched those out for mini high-tech HS225 servos. They have more torque and speed than the original servos that were in it, and they're like half the weight of those standard size servos. So really thrilled with those. The aileron servos also I changed. So you can see here, I used this hidden servo cover design. Stock, it would just have the aileron servo hanging out the bottom of the wing. But I like the looks of servo covers, and it was easier to hide the mini size servos using that aileron servo mounting style. So really happy with that. And then as for receivers, I'm running a FrSky Archer R6. Those are amazing little receivers for $35. I have like 12 plus of them, and they have been great. None of them I've never had a problem with any of them, and they work really good. So highly recommend the Archer R6 receivers for, your basic RC plane needs, I guess. And then as for battery packs, running a Spectrum 300 milliamp, 6.6 volt life, half the size, a fraction of the weight as, a NiCad that this thing was probably running before I got it. And it really helped with keeping the weight down. And speaking of weight, that's another thing I'm really thrilled about. The manual on this plane says this airplane is supposed to weigh around 7.75 to 8 pounds. After putting in all my lighter and modern electronics and keeping things as light as possible, I was able to shave this thing down to 6.25 pounds. So I'm really thrilled at how light this airframe came out. From a stock standpoint, it's over a pound lighter than what the manual recommends. But that is dry without any fuel though. So I'd say with fuel, it's probably 6.5 pounds, but still that's over a pound lighter than what the manual recommends. So really thrilled about that. And then, yes, after all that was done, it was pretty much just recovering everything. And this covering is the Value Hobby new cover stuff. The white, blue, and silver pretty much from the Waco here, and this 4-star here is where the covering came from. So that was nice. I was able to use most of my covering stash, and it came out really good. The silver used for the leading edges, I think that looks really good. And then the blue stripes with the silver backing also looks really good. So it came out really nice. I think it's my best covering job yet, as far as, keeping things nice and look how nice and centered that stripe stayed on this center portion in silver. Really love it. And then as for the decals here, these came from Callie Graphics, the Hanger 9 and the Pulse XT60. I think that's hilarious. It just looks funny. I laugh at it every time I see it. So yeah, Callie Graphics is awesome. If you guys need stickers for your airplanes, she does really great work. I was able to custom design these myself, and I just sent her the files, and she made them for me. So really cool. I'll link her website description, or I'll leave a link to her website in my video description so you can check her out. Alrighty guys, so that is the overview / restoration story on this Hanger 9 Pulse XT60 airframe. It's a really good looking airframe. I love the looks of it. especially when it's sitting next to the 4-star. It looks really good. And yeah, it's a really fun flying airframe as well. It flies, it's a really good Sunday flyer, and it draws really nice straight lines when doing Cuban 8s and stuff. It's really effortless, easy to land, easy to take off. You know, it's just a great relaxing flyer, and it looks really awesome. I really like the looks of a Pulse XT60 airframe. I knew I was going to have one eventually, and yeah, luckily I was able to find one and do a whole restoration process on it, and it looks really good. So anyway, yes, that is the overview / restoration story on the Pulse XT60. Now let's get to the flight footage. All right, well, we got the Hangar 9 Pulse XT60 started up, and she is running beautifully. This ASP or Magnum 91 is actually a really good running engine, better than some of my other engines I've had in the past. So it's been really good. Anyway, let's go ahead and point her into the wind and throttle up and go. So unlike my Hangar 9, SIG 4-star, this one's definitely more slower pace, you know, easy flyer, easier Sunday flyer with the longer wingspan and all that sort of stuff, but it will still do some pretty nice aerobatics as shown here. And it draws some really nice straight lines, like it's borderline IMAC good, surprisingly. Maneuvers wise, like it draws some really straight lines. It's really easy to do some nice good loops, and basically what I'm saying is it flies more like an IMAC plane. So gotta fly slower for the chase quad here, so I'll go ahead and get him some good shots. I'll fly slower so you can get some good shots. It's a little breezy today, probably a good 15-20 mile an hour wind, but this thing handles it well. And okay, I'll do it into the wind. You got enough battery? Okay. Okay, executing barrel roll now.
All right, Tyler, my battery's dead.
Okay, that's fine. But yeah, it basically flies a lot like an IMAC plane, surprisingly. Like, it draws some really nice straight lines. Plenty of rudder authority in stall turns, as shown right there. And aileron doesn't roll quite as fast as my 4-star, but does it in a nice, subtle way. And that 91 sure sounds really nice up front there. And as mentioned, being under the weight recommendation in the manual also helps with power and light and floatiness feel. Inverted is really good, just a blip of down elevator is all that's needed. It's full aileron right there, so yeah. Not quite as aggressive as the 4-star, but she looks really good in the air with their new scheme. And she'll pretty much almost knife edge too. I mean, she'll fall out of it eventually, but knife edge is better than my 4-star, so. It is a bit large for this flying area though, so do have to kind of keep that in consideration, but looks really good. Yeah, this is pretty much whenever I want to do nice, slow, easy Sunday, lazy aerobatics. This is probably going to be my top choice as of now on, because I've actually found out how aggressive the 4-star really is. That thing's actually pretty impressive, speed-wise and capability-wise. So this one's definitely more relaxing. I know. I'll take it in this wind, though. Alrighty guys, so that is the flight on the Hangar 9 Pulse XT60. This one's definitely a keeper. It has the looks going for it, and like I said, I've always kind of wanted one since I started getting into the low wing sports with the 4 strokes up front. And with this Magnum 91, she definitely looks really, really cool, and with the scheme she's got on it, really, really impressed with this one. So yeah, if you guys like this kind of content, make sure you like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.